YouTube me, you have to split. You have to split your whatchamacallit.
My wages.
You have to split your wages with me, right? Looks good. Not really a lot of swelling. I mean, you have your normal stuff that you should have after 2 weeks of surgery, but lift up your foot a little bit. Good. And just bend your knee so I can see the incision to, like, bend your knee. No, bend it like this way, sideways.
Oh, sideways?
Just
okay.
like that. So I'm just putting a little antiseptic on, and then we're going to take those stitches out. This doesn't sting, it's just antiseptic. So
they're supposed to still feel numb a little bit right
yeah,
here?
you're going to still feel numb because I had to, where that incision is, number one, we had to move the nerve like out of the way, we had to pull it out of the way, so from pulling on it. And the other thing is it's still swollen over the side there, so as the swelling comes down, because that nerve travels right underneath that incision, so when we moved it back, so this doesn't hurt. The first two, though, usually are a little tight because they have the knots. So
I be able to like soak it in ice?
Yeah, you want to soak it in ice? Why would you want to do that?
Get the swelling down, the big toe.
You can do that. I just got to get this first. Sorry, this one's always the tight one. That's one.
So how many stitches total?
So it's really one stitch, so I was waiting for you to ask me that. Technically it's one stitch, but it has one beginning and one end. So these are the two that get tighter, but if I'll tell you how many exactly there are. If they were to be individual ones, this would have been one. So one. This would have been 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this is 9 and 10. So if it was individual stitches, like if each one had a knot, it would have been a total of 10. But what I did was I used, it's called a running stitch. So what'll happen is, even though you see those lines right now, they'll eventually flatten out because you didn't have individual knots. When you have those individual knots, it leaves you those railroad tracks, and they don't usually go away. This, the incision had like some play, so if it needs to swell, it had room to swell. So like this will just pretty much be smooth when it's all said and done. And this is it's something called tincture. It's a little bit of a glue. I'm just going to put, you can still wet your foot. Everything I told you doesn't change. I'm just going to put steri strips on it just to kind of give the incision a little extra support. And when you dry yourself, just make sure you pat them down. Try to keep them on for like the next 5 days.
Okay.
All right.
So how do you get the blood out the toes?
What blood out of the toes? What do you mean?
You said there was blood in the toes. How do I get that out?
No, this will go away in time. It's nothing you can do. This is just as like, it's just from, I put something here that stops bleeding or minimizes bleeding to your foot so I could see what I'm doing during the surgery. And then when that tourniquet is released, it's like a blood pressure cuff. Okay. What happens, all the blood rushes back to your foot and it kind of goes wherever. So one there. One there. So in 5 days, if they're still stuck on pretty good, when you're in the shower on that day, you're going to peel them from these little tabs.
Okay.
All right? Did you bring your own sock?
Yep.
All right.
It's right here.
Let's get that on. You know how to use the boot, right?
Yeah.
So put air in the boot, make it nice and snug.